Dear lovers of history and nature, I made this video due to your overwhelming interest. Normally, I had shot a short story on Instagram and said, it opened my eyes. What opened my eyes was a weed that grows everywhere in our field and in such abundance. It's a plant known by names like ribwort, plantain, or boilweed. I'm not a healer. I really love medicinal plants. My grandmother was a real expert in this field. May she rest in peace. I spent my childhood in villages among people who knew a lot about wild and medicinal herbs. Since my father was always a village teacher, it wasn't like we could just go to the doctor or hospitals when we needed healing. Such things weren't really possible, so people tried to find their own remedies. But in a very interesting way, when I noticed that a certain herb was beneficial for me, I got excited and wanted to share it with you, and when I asked people who know about these things, they said, yes, you're right, it's perfectly normal for you to discover this remedy. Because they truly said, this herb is indeed the remedy for that problem. Last June, I started having trouble seeing, and in the mornings and evenings, I couldn't read some texts. I went and got glasses. I went to the eye doctor and had an examination. Then about a month later, I noticed that I could read again. Early in the morning, late at night. This herb literally opened my eyes. Come on, let me introduce you to this healing plant now. Now this herb has different names. They call it Sinir Otu, ribwort. They call it Damar Otu, vein herb. They also call it Chuban Otu, boil herb. Because it has so many healing properties, it has been given many different names based on its various benefits. For example, right now, I just sat down here. There are lots of these herbs right where I'm sitting. Look, let me show you like this. For example, this part of the leaf you see here is the front and this is the back. Because of the prominent veins on the back, or these delicate capillaries that closely resemble the intricate nerves within the human body, this particular herb is given its distinctive name. I did a bit of extensive research. It's not just herbalists and such. It's not a medicinal herb. I also spoke with people who work with medicinal plants in a scientific context. I downloaded articles and papers on this topic as well. I said, I'm not an expert in this field. I looked at those too. Apparently, it's used quite extensively in the pharmaceutical industry in various sectors. For example, let's say you have a canker sore in your mouth, or you have a wound somewhere on your body. This plant has anti-inflammatory and wound healing properties. That's why it's also called wound herb in Anatolia. It has wound healing properties. For instance, I shared this story yesterday. A few hundred people asked me, Halil, how should we use this? Well, let me put it this way. Last year, around June, you know how when you wake up in the morning, what do people do these days when they first wake up? There's a phone by the bedside, you immediately grab it while still lying down. Did I get any emails? Or how much did my YouTube channel subscriber count increase from last night to this morning? How many views did the video I uploaded yesterday get? What comments were made? I check all these things too. Up until yesterday, when I woke up in the morning, my eyes would see perfectly clear. But now, early in the morning, I can't see as well anymore. I see things kind of blurry. And in the evening, especially late at night, especially after the night prayer, I started having trouble seeing again. Then, of course, when I mention this to people, they ask my age. So when I say 47, they laugh, of course. Because apparently after 40 this happens, your eyes start to fail. In fact, last summer during my Dolmabahce Palace tour, there was an elderly Turkish couple from America, both of whom turned out to be eye doctors. Both of them were. They joined the tour. They asked, Mr. Talha, how old are you? I said, well, I'm 47. They said, mashallah, don't you use glasses? I said, no, I don't use them. Because my mother and father only started wearing glasses at a much later age. Although my siblings started wearing them earlier, especially my youngest sister, she started wearing glasses in high school. I've never used glasses up to this day, I've never needed them. They said, well, that's really great, because after 40, your eyesight starts to deteriorate and you can't read up close anymore. Reading glasses, near vision glasses. It's always said among people in Anatolia. Honestly, after June and the summer, when my vision got worse in July and August, I went to the eye doctor. They gave me reading glasses. Is that a 1 diopter lens or something? Anyway, you put them on and you can read like it's crystal clear. The letters and numbers on the phone look huge. I used them for a month, and then after a month, suddenly, I started reading text clearly in the mornings and evenings. I thought, what's going on here? Look, August has passed, September, October, November, December. Now it's January 2024, and right now my wife is holding the phone. Thank you, honey. If I'm lying, say so, Ms. Gulfidan. I haven't used glasses for months.
That's right, you haven't used them for a few months.
Right?
Yes.
So I haven't worn glasses since the end of summer, even though I bought 2 pairs of glasses. One just sits here like this. I bought a Yavuz Sultan Selim style pair. You know, an Ottoman Seljuk historian should use a sultan's glasses, but they don't have the side pieces. I wish I had brought them with me. You put them on your nose. They're really cute. There were probably a lot of people who saw me on the Marmaray and such with those nose glasses during the summer. Then I thought, why am I not using them? Why am I not using them? Last week, I had conferences in Alashahir and Turgutlu in Manisa. There was a healer gentleman in the team that organized the Turgutlu conference who also works as an ambulance driver and is very knowledgeable about medicinal herbs, thanks to his grandfather and ancestors. I mentioned this. He said, Professor, you not at all. Like plantain, ribwort, and so on? I said, well, I use them. How do you use them? I said, well, I see them while walking around in the field. You know, in America we have these herbalists and such.
Yes.
What was it called in Germany? There was something official. He just pops the herb into his mouth.
He keeps eating.
He eats these herbs all the time. Regards.
In fact, I always scold you. Stop eating every herb you find.
Since the beginning of summer, Ms. Gulfidan keeps asking me, what are you doing? And so on. This is exactly how I eat them. They're so fresh, you know. After a while, I even got used to the taste. Look, you can see plantain here. Just like this, I find myself coming to this expansive field about 4 or 5 days each and every week. Whenever I arrive here, I habitually pick and place 2 or 3 fresh tender leaves directly into my mouth, and honestly, I truly do not understand why I do this, nor do I know what purpose it serves. This gentleman in Turgut opened my eyes. My teacher said, it was in our Turgutlu, Manisa Turgutlu. We have a very old uncle, he said, herbalist. He said to those who came with eye problems that, I don't know this vascular herb. If you want, come a little closer. Now, since it's the beginning of winter, the herbs have gotten really small. They've shrunk. If you break the stem of the vascular herb right from the stem, you'll see a drop of liquid comes out from here. When you squeeze it like this, a single drop. This is a drop from the vascular herb. Yes, these are very small, very small.
They get even bigger. They become huge.
Their stems get thick, and that's when that single drop comes out, Grandpa. It's not the stem of the trunk, but the stem of the leaf. He said you drop that into the eye. He told stories about how many people threw away their glasses. Look, how many people? Oh, eye doctors and eyeglass companies are going to come after me. I'm not an expert, but I really did my research. I saw that it has very serious healing properties. In fact,
they even make pickles out of it. By the way, Mr. Talha, yes, I mean, sometimes it disappears, you know, and since it disappears, in order to keep eating it, a fermented food provides extra benefits. That's probably why, thinking about that, they ferment it as well and eat it that way.
For example, I looked into it, and in Seljuk medicine, you would put this in your mouth, chew it, make a paste, or crush it in a mortar. Make a paste, for instance, if you were stung by a bee, bitten by an insect, or if the thorn of an irritating vine caused swelling. You would apply it over the allergic area as a cover. It relieves the pain and prevents further issues.
It's antipyretic.
As far as I understand, it has some anti-inflammatory or wound healing properties.
It has anti-inflammatory effects. That's why it's called Damar Sinir O2, vein nerve herb.
It has significant benefits for the veins.
Probably.
And what else was there? It's a stomach regulator.
Apparently, yes. So it might also be good for stomach ulcers?
It benefits the stomach and regulates the intestines. For example, both people with diarrhea and those with constipation should use it.
Really?
It regulates directly, it regulates right away. They say to drink its tea. For example, you take its fresh tea leaves, you lightly crush the plantain leaves in a mortar and then steep them. That is, you pour hot water over them. You don't boil it. Because this isn't a soft root, those roots are boiled. You can also drink its tea when it's dry. I asked the experts about that too. They said, Mr. Talha, I said, how am I going to find this in winter? If it snows now, all of this will disappear. They said you can dry it and drink it. You can drink fresh tea. For example, when you gargle that tea in your mouth.
Mouth sores.
It is said to be very good for mouth sores, gum problems, and all of these. For example, I read about whether it has any harm. It has a laxative effect if it's used too much. If it's used excessively, it has a laxative effect. Yes, if used too much, it can cause nausea. It causes nausea when used excessively, so it doesn't really have any significant side effects. Negative. I mean, they mention these things as well. But as you said, its main property is wound healing, wound healing, wound healing. For example, its poultice can be applied to fungal infections that appear in certain areas of the body. When you eat it, it provides a significant amount of minerals and vitamins. It is especially rich in vitamins A, B, and K. Because of this, actually, I also...
Let him eat it when he finds it.
Honestly, if you find it, eat it. By the way, we were supposed to shoot this on the other side of the field, not here, but we couldn't. It's collapsing over there.
Yes, it's become a big problem.
It's collapsing. We specifically looked for one, but there isn't any. Why? Because we don't let sheep or goats graze here. This is a place where chickens roam. We let sheep and goats graze over there. I have one assistant. I asked him, I said, this place used to be overrun with wild dog, but now there's none at all. He said, brother, goats and sheep love it. He said they specifically look for it and eat it. If goats and sheep are seeking this out to eat,
especially goat,
don't miss out. They're very smart animals. They don't eat anything harmful. There must be some benefit since the animals eat it. That's why we definitely recommend it. This is the place I was telling you about. This place used to be full of plantain and wild dog. We came here to see if we could find any. We searched all over this area, but nothing at all. Finally, we found a single root. Shall we show it?
Mr. Talha, this one is the broad-leaved variety. Take a look at this.
So, there are a few different types of these?
Yes, there are several types. Look, you can see the leaf here.
The ones we showed earlier, those violet-colored ones, are the narrow-leaved ones.
These are broad-leaved.
These are broad-leaved.
There are several different varieties.
Yes.
Look, something has already eaten from the tip. It's been nibbled. You can see it.
The kid says so. He says, brother, he picks out the ribworts, you know?
Look, it's been eaten.
You know, here they already call this ribwort or plantain an invasive species. I mean, when it spreads, oh, should we drop some in my eye maybe? Did any liquid come out of it?
Like this, should we maybe break it a bit more from here?
He says it's the juice from the stem of the leaf. It comes from there, but before winter, they've lost their moisture.
They're going to die.
They've lost their moisture before winter. Wait, don't throw that away. I'll eat it. I eat it raw, you know. That one is nice, it's fresh.
I see they can't find it.
It rained yesterday too. Everything is sparkling clean. You can pretty much just pop them straight into your mouth. You can also eat these fresh. There's absolutely no harm. Just a moment ago I saw a black bindweed over there. With its bright yellow flower and leaves, I immediately popped it into my mouth. Look how clean it is. If it's clean, there's absolutely no problem. Look, the animals haven't left a single one here. There are so many medicinal plants here. There's chickweed, speedwell, and dead nettle over there. There are plenty of milky herbs among them, but for some reason, this is the one they're looking for in particular. I also found ribwort plantain inside the greenhouse. Let me show you right away. We have about 3 types of ribwort plantain growing in our field. Now you've seen the small ones with the thin leaves. I showed you one with broad leaves. And look, this one has the broadest leaves. This is also ribwort plantain, as you can see. The most important thing that gives it away is that when you turn it over, the veins on the back are clearly visible like this. Look, there are about 5 or 6 different types of herbs here. You can immediately spot the ribwort plantain among them. This is the 3rd variety. As we said, there are varieties with very broad leaves, moderately broad leaves, and narrow leaves of ribwort plantain, also known as plantain weed. So, Gulfidan, how do we make its pickle?
It's the same fermentation method. We wash them thoroughly and let them dry. Then the amount of salt, well, it varies for everything. It depends on the jar, but generally it's about 1 spoonful of salt per jar. As you know, we've stopped using citric acid for quite some time now. After that, salt and a little vinegar. If you use apple cider vinegar, it turns out milder. Then, with a bit of vinegar, we make our pickle and let it ferment. And then we eat it. We did the same thing with something else this year, as you know. What was it called? Purslane.
So now they say the snow will come around mid-January before it snows? Let's pick some of these, let's dry them.
Either we dry them or turn them into pickles.
Honestly, it really opened my eyes, let me tell you.
It's been tried and approved.
Normally, I always use things like thyme and linden anyway. So this was the only thing extra I used. And when I personally heard from the experts that it's actually beneficial even for eye drops and can improve eyesight, I said, okay, that's it. This is settled. That's why, without overdoing it, we recommend that you use it as well. Best regards, with respect.